Kingdoms Part 8, Animalia, talking about vertebrates. So first off, we notice on our chart that all of these are going to be the phylum Chordata. So what is a chordate? They have a dorsal hollow nerve cord, or a notochord, that is a long supporting rod that runs throughout their body just below the nerve cord. So, they all at least have a nerve cord as well. We also have pharyngeal pouches, which means that we're going to either develop gills or lungs to enable us to breathe. Their tails tend to extend beyond the anus or buttocks, and all of them are going to be bilateral symmetry. So you can actually, on your chart, go ahead and extend all the way down for bilateral symmetry. Vertebrates have a vertebral column, or vertebrae, which are individual segments of the backbone that replace that notochord in many developed vertebrates. So starting with amphibia, looking at amphibians. Their class amphibia means double life, so they have two main life stages, a complete aquatic larval stage and an air-breathing semi-terrestrial stage. It's only semi-terrestrial because they need water for fertilization, for sexual reproduction, and they need water to keep their skin moist. Again, they do sexual reproduction through external fertilization. So the females come and lay the eggs and leave, and the males come and fertilize the eggs and leave. And then we go from egg to larva to young adult to adult through metamorphosis. We do have gas exchange through the skin, and our adults have a closed circulatory system. These guys are going to be ectotherms, which are cold-blooded, which means temperatures change with their environment. They do not regulate their internal temperature. They just regulate with what their environment is. So if it gets warmer, they get warmer. If it gets colder, they get colder. They do have a well-developed nervous and sensory system. All of these do. So again, on your nervous system. Well-developed nervous and sensory system. Now, we may add a few pieces to it, but all of them tend to have a well-developed nervous and sensory system. Amphibians can go from filter feeders to herbivores, typically in the larval stage, and then can become carnivores in the adult stage. Their evolution milestone is that these guys develop legs. Reptilia, or reptiles, meaning to creep. The first animals to adapt fully to land. They have dry, scaly skin with claws. They do have lungs, and they have a closed circulatory system with either a 3-chambered heart or a 4-chambered heart. They are ectotherms, again, regulating with their environment. Most are herbivores, but some are carnivores. We see internal fertilization, and then they lay their eggs on land. Now these eggs are amniotic eggs, which means inside of the eggs is nourishment, and then they have the protection of the outside covering to help the embryo develop. Again, that well-developed nervous and sensory system, and they use their sensory organs to detect prey or ID chemicals. So moving on to fish. Now in our fish, we have 3 different classes that we're going to look at. The chondrichthyes, the osteoichthyes, and the agnatha. All of them are aquatic vertebrates, meaning they have a vertebral column. Most have paired fins and gills. They are bilateral symmetry. They have scales. And their bones can either be cartilaginous bones or actually bony bones. They are coelomates with an endoskeleton. Coelomates, remember, means that they have that separation between their gut and their external surface. Most have external fertilization, but few have internal. But they do have different sexes, a male and a female. Evolutionary milestone is that they have a hollow nerve tube and backbone. They do have a closed circulatory system, complex brain and sensory organs. They do have efficient respiration systems, and they breathe with the gills. Now, many students still don't quite understand that they're not breathing in water and then breaking up the water. They're actually having the water pass through their gills and they're collecting the oxygen that is mixed in with the water. So if you have water that is deprived of all oxygen, then the fish are actually going to die, because you need water to be aerated. And that's why a lot of your fish tanks tend to have a waterfall that brings in oxygen and distributes it throughout the water inside of your fish tank. So again, it's that air that's mixed in with the water that they're taking out and breathing. Most fish have eggs and then are born alive and go through a juvenile stage and then to an adult stage. Now let's take a look at the three different classes. So the chondrichthyes. Our examples or our species are going to be sharks, skates, and rays. These guys go from predators to carnivores and even herbivores. Typically feed on or near the bottom of the ocean. Their skeleton is completely composed of cartilage versus bone. They have a paired fins that aid in their locomotion or transport. They do have a lateral line system that enables them to sense their environment. So that's something that you actually need to put in with our sensory or nervous system, is that they have a lateral line system, and they have a jaw. Now, when we talk about rays, their bodies are typically flat and broad with a pectoral fin on either side. They move by flapping the fins up and down. They eat mollusks and crustaceans, so they are predators. And they have a few adaptations. They have a sharp spine with poison glands located on their tail that they can use to actually stick their predators with and then kill them. And some can also produce electricity to shock their predators. Osteichthyes. Osteo means bone. So these are going to be bony fish. They're going to be our bass, our carp, and our catfish. They have a backbone composed of separate vertebrae that allow for support and flexibility. They do have paired fins, a lateral line for sensing their environment. Again, you need to put lateral line in our nervous system. They have scales, and they also have a swim bladder, which allows them buoyancy. They can expel the air from that bladder, allowing them to sink down, or they can actually collect air from the water around them and fill that bladder and allow them to float up. The agnatha, which are jawless fish. Lampreys are hagfish. Again, it's going to be these black guys here that are actually attached to this poor fish. These are typically parasitic. They can be carnivorous, but a lot of them times we see them as parasitic. They use the sucking mouth parts to attach to prey and then scrape through and suck out the blood. Carnivores, they drill a hole in dead or dying fish and suck out their blood, such as hagfish. And some of them are filter feeders. Again, here are some of those sharp teeth-like parts of the mouth that they can actually sucker onto and use to penetrate the host skin and actually get to the blood. Locomotion, they use a snake-like pattern because they have no fins and they have no scales. Again, you can see these sharp, jagged teeth that they can use to penetrate and suck out the blood. Moving on to aves or birds. The class aves is talking about birds. Milestone is that they have feathers. They have wings, and to allow them to fly, their bones are typically hollow to make them lighter so that they can fly. And they have a keel-shaped sternum that allows them to separate the air in front of them and be more aerodynamic. They have a closed circulatory system. They do have lungs, and they are endotherms, which mean are warm-blooded creatures, which means they keep a constant internal environment no matter what the external environment will be. They undergo internal fertilization, and they have amniotic eggs with a hard shell. They incubate their eggs, and from the amniotic egg hatch a chick, and then it turns into an adult. Again, a well-developed nervous and sensory system, and birds have a lot of different adaptations. They can have feathered legs and feet. They can have modified wings and modified feet. They can have large eyes, acute sense of hearing, and sharp claws, such as owls. And we see a lot of different beaks, such as the long beaks of the hummingbird, that allow them to actually get down into flowers to pull out the nectar. Mammalia, or talking about mammals. Mammalia means breast, and their evolutionary milestone is that we have hair. It provides insulation and waterproofing for most of our mammals. Now, us, we don't have enough hair anywhere to provide either of those, but we still have hair. We are endotherms, or warm-blooded, keeping around a 98.6-degree internal temperature, no matter what the outside temperature is going to be. We feed our young with milk through our mammary glands. Our respiratory system includes a diaphragm and lungs. We have modified teeth according to what type of food we're going to eat. Chisel-shaped for gnawing, canines for tearing and puncturing, or premolars and molars for slicing, shearing, crushing, and grinding, such as we have. We also have a modified limb. Our thumb allows us to grasp different things, and we have the big ability to learn. So we have a complex nervous system and sensory system. We have sweat, oil, and scent glands. We have a closed circulatory system, which means, again, our blood flows through vessels. We do sexual internal fertilization, and we can be herbivores eating plants, carnivores eating meat, or omnivores eating both types. So classification, we have a few groupings that we like to put our mammals in. We have our monotremes, which are going to be mammals that actually lay eggs. There's very few of them. And they can be found in Australia, Tanzania, or New Guinea. Our duck-billed platypus is one that is a mammal that lays eggs, and so is our spiny anteater. We have our marsupials, which young spend a very short time developing within mom, and then a second period of development inside of a pouch made of skin and hair outside of the mother's body. These are going to be our kangaroos, our possums, our spotted cacus, and our giant anteaters. Also found in Australia. So if you want to see some really cool things, you should probably head to Australia. And then we have our placental mammals. Carry young inside of a uterus until development is nearly complete. Our young are nourished via placenta, and we have time in the placenta is known as gestation. 95% of all mammals are placental mammals. Humans gestate for 9 months, elephants for 22 months. Dogs tend to have 9 weeks, bison about 9.5 months, lions 4 months, and dolphins have a 12-month gestation. Again, this is how long the babies are going to be in the placenta before they come out in a live birth. Well, that's what I've got for you today. Bye!